Good morning. So today I'm reviewing an audiobook I just finished. It is Stormfront by Jim Butcher. It is the first of the Dresden Files about Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden. I've got the Harry and the Dresden right, the other two may be in the wrong order. His father, as he prominently tells us, named him after 3 famous wizards. And one less famous one, apparently. Now, I don't have a book to wave around at you because I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook was narrated by James Masters, who was Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I cannot imagine a better narrator. The narration was spectacular. It was beautiful, it was textured, it felt right for the character. Loved the narration. I don't have the book. At one stage I did have the first 3 of the Harry Dresden books, but I think they were fatality of my last move down to the coast. Let me read you something. Bear with me. It's from a review that I wrote on Goodreads in 2016. I love this book and I can barely even explain why I liked it as much as I did. Part of it would be that I have been reading a lot of supernatural urban fantasy fiction written by women, and however well they write male characters, there's always a certain sameness to them. I loved the main character in this book, not for all the obvious reasons, but because he was realistic as a person. So what are the obvious reasons? Well, he is a mage but knows how to handle himself in a fight. He is independent and does not follow the party line. He is witty with a sense of humour as well as a sense of honour, and he is just slightly unaware of his strengths. And these all make for excellent lead characters. I am not talking about Stormfront. I am talking about Benedict Jacker in his Cursed series about Alex Versus. I found these in 2016 and I loved them so much. I actually went online and bought the books new, which for me in 2016 was a red letter day. One of the things about this book is the dedication on the cover is by Jim Butcher, telling us how much he enjoyed this book. And because Goodreads then suggested that if you liked Benedict Jacker, you're going to like Jim Butcher. So I bought the first 3 books sight unseen from a second-hand shop when I came across them. My experience wasn't the same, and for many years I believed that was essentially because what I wanted was to be reading more Benedict Jacker, and there wasn't any. So I was reading this other book that was quite different. I just didn't love it as much. So I read Stormfront, I never read the other 2, and I eventually let the 3 books go. I gave it 2 stars on Goodreads, and if you follow my Goodreads reviews, and I know some of you do, Goodreads will try and tell you the review is from 2025. Goodreads is lying. It's from 2016 or 17, one of those. Anyhow, I reviewed it in 2025. So lots of people are praising Jim Butcher, saying how much they love Stormfront, and I'm starting to think, well, it was time and place. I always knew that it was because I really wanted to be reading something else that I didn't love this book. I'll go back and I'll reread it. I found the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook all the way through. And then I went back and I read my review from when I first read it. And essentially, I agree with every word I said when I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Sorry, Jim Butcher, you're doing fine without me. Many people love Harry Dresden. I think it's up to book number 20 or something and still going at the moment, but I didn't. So what I said back in the day was, the first in the series, Harry Dresden is a wizard, an out-of-the-closet professional wizard for hire in a world where most wizards are governed by a white council and most definitely in the closet. There is nothing about this scenario that I don't like in theory. What Butcher did was he wrote basically a old school, down in the heel, living penny to penny type American detective story in which instead of being a detective, the guy's a mage. He's just marginally a mage. He tells us he's a mage a lot, but he doesn't mage a lot to begin with. He mainly has a old dusty office in which someone comes to see him. The downside to having read it before was, if the woman who comes to see him is meant to be a surprise later on, she wasn't a surprise to me. So Dresden is suffering from poor business. There's a lot of jokes about kiddies parties. People don't take him seriously. And then he gets this one client who turns up, and the descriptions were already starting to leave me feeling very meh about this book. This woman turns up and he's trying to describe a middle-class housewife, I guess, but he does it in ways that don't really zing with my worldview. If you're from America, is it Chicago? Perhaps all these descriptions will really completely work for you. For me, they didn't. Knee-high boots makes her sound like she's riding horses. Then there's a lemon sweater and a brown skirt, and it just all sounds terrible. It sounds like a fashion mishmash. And if he's trying to pinpoint a type of woman like I would if I was saying linen clothes and fake gold jewellery, anyone on the Queensland coast would know what I mean by linen clothes, fake gold jewellery, I think, but maybe that wouldn't translate to America. His descriptions throughout do not. The book tells me that he's in Chicago. I get no sense of place, and one of the things I loved about the Cursed books was that you get this incredible sense of place, of London as a living organism, breathing, its own heart beating, gorgeous world building, and descriptions of magic in our more real world. I don't get really, I'm afraid, any description of the world in which Dresden inhabits. It's a city, it's somewhere in America. There's a lake not too far out of the city. They get summer storms, and that is about all I can say in terms of world building. That's inadequate to keep my interest for what was nearly a 5-hour book. This is not a small book. It feels like it should be because there's not really that much in it. Chirp, Angry Bird. But it's not. It's not a tiny book. Okay, so where were we at? Oh yes. The White Council governs magic users, and we hear that Dresden has got a checkered background with them. Presumably more of that will come out in subsequent books, but for a 5-hour audiobook and a fairly significant book, I feel we could have had a little bit more explanation. I get that he was going to stretch it out over the series, that this was a plan. I could have done with a little bit more. So this woman comes in and she wants him to track her husband who's got involved in magic, and she's coming to him because she thinks if he can talk magic to her husband, should he find him, it will work better. It's a bit lame, but she's offering him an awful lot of money, and he's broke, so he takes it. Now, having made the appointment with her in person, before she can actually make it to the appointment, Dresden is called out by the Chicago PD, which is how I know that it's based in Chicago, because we keep hearing about the Chicago PD. There's been a double murder where the hearts of a man and woman who were engaged in intimate occasion have their hearts just torn out by magic. This is a big no-no. The White Council would frown upon it. The real world doesn't know about the White Council. They kind of do about magic. And this was another fatal flaw for me in this book as reading it now. I don't remember it bothering me the first time I read it. The explanation for this world with magic, and I've read a lot of explanations for magical realism, essentially this world only with magic or supernatural involved. The explanation for this world would appear to be something along the lines of: science has failed humanity. World hunger still exists. What has science ever done for us? And so people are starting to believe in the supernatural again, and that's why vampires and gremlins and whatever are starting to crawl out of the closet or whatever. As explanations for why magic is real, I think this has got to be one of the most underdone and honestly lamest in existence. The whole point about science, unlike magic, is that it works whether you believe in it or not. You don't have to believe in science to turn on a light switch. You don't have to know combustion engineering to make your car start. That is not how science works. So the fact that you believe in it or not has got nothing to do with it. Vampires apparently exist in this world. I haven't encountered a werewolf yet. I'm sure it's somewhere around the corner. But magic does. The magic descriptions and the magic system are very lightly sketched. They're fairies as well, that's right. And I don't mind light sketching of magic. I don't need the whole magic thing unfolded for me like an accordion, but I need a better explanation for world building than people don't believe in science because it hasn't cured world hunger, which incidentally it could. The reason we haven't cured world hunger is politics, mainly. Anyhow, rant over. So, Dresden is trying to follow up on this woman's husband who has vanished. In order to do that, no, we don't want to. Okay, what do we want? Chicken? Sorry, there was a bird flying around over my head. In order to try and seek him out, he goes down to perform a tracing spell, I think it was, and we find possibly the coolest character in this book is a talking skull that Dresden owns. We don't know how. Again, presumably in a future book. The skull agrees to help him make the thing he wants. I think it's called Bob. As long as he makes it... Oh no, it's an escape spell. He needs the escape spell in order to go and talk to the vampires. So if something goes astray, he can get out of there. He needs to talk to the vampires because one of the people whose heart was torn out was an employee of the vampire who runs a brothel. Sure. Skull makes potion for him only as long as he makes a love potion as well. Insert clear future hilarity as someone takes the love potion inappropriately. So, there's a lot of this narrative, and one of the problems I had with it was very much the tell not show. We're told repeatedly that Dresden is a powerful wizard. He tells us this all the time. We don't see a lot of wizarding to begin with, and when he starts to wizard, it's kind of fun, but again, it feels as if we're being told about it rather than shown. The other thing is that Harry, while not a terrible character, never seemed real to me. He's a powerful wizard, if you say so. I don't see why a powerful wizard would have no business, no money. Surely if you're a powerful wizard, you can do something better than sitting in a dusty office reading paperbacks, unable to pay the bills. No one told you had to be a private wizard for hire. I'm sure there's other things that wizardry can do. But yeah, okay. And he spends the whole book telling us he doesn't want to do things. I didn't want to go, but I did. I didn't want to see this, but I looked. I didn't want to be there, but I was. I didn't want. As characters go, this one reminded me of a teenage boy of friends of mine who's heavily on the spectrum, and whenever his parents tell him to do something, he goes, no! He does it then, but he has to say no because of some sort of spectrum effect. Dresden felt spectrum to me. It's like, I didn't want to, but it did. All the time. He's meant to be sort of geeky in a wizard sort of way, but he still doesn't demonstrate that. He's just this vehicle and a voice for a rather meandering plot that doesn't really seem to hold together, is often quite predictable, and could easily have chopped out a few hundred pages. I'm going to gather that this was probably one of Butcher's first books. Maybe he started making them hold together more often, but this one had plot holes. It had large plot holes that I had time to notice because I wasn't engaged with the writing or the main protagonist. So, as required for every single down on his luck, cannot make the rent hero, PI, or whatever, ever written by any American franchise, Harry's got a cop gunning for him. Not really a cop. This guy, I think his name's Morgan, comes from the White Council. Harry was apparently apprenticed by a black wizard at one stage, and then he killed someone to save his life, so he's under threat of the Damocles sword hanging over his head. Again, Benedict Jekyll. There's a curse hanging over this one as well, and he's at odds with his version of the White Council, but it's actually funny and entertaining. I didn't find the Butcher one funny and entertaining. So rather than a curse of the sword of Damocles, I still don't know if that's meant to be an actual curse or if that's Butcher just trying to make Dresden sound funny. I still don't know that. But this guy called Morgan spends his whole time wearing a sword on his back, wandering around after Harry, popping up at random points going, "I know you're guilty, I'm going to kill you." And is it meant to be funny? It's not. Is it meant to be threatening? I don't think so. If you've got over a dozen books in the series, pretty clear that Morgan doesn't kill Butcher. So what was the point? The guy has no sense of humour. And it's the most ridiculous thing. Every time Harry's in the vicinity of a spell, he pops up going, "You're doing black magic." It's like, I can't even start to think why this was a good idea. The only upside to Morgan and his "I'm going to kill you, Harry, because I know you're a black wizard, and sooner or later the White Council will figure that out and they will let me kill you because that's the right thing to do." The only advantage to that was the fact that Sword of Damocles made me think of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And so I had a quick giggle whenever someone said Sword of Damocles. That quick giggle was very much required because it was the only leavening of humour that I found in this deadly serious and often dull book. I'm sorry to everyone who loves this. I know I've got some friends who do love this book, and that's why I just tried to reread it. But I've got to say that Stormfront was deadly dull for me. An unbelievable character who isn't interesting or engaging, a plot that is meandering and often nonsensical, world building that doesn't exist, and fight scenes that are so strangely mismanaged that I was able to turn off the audiobook in the middle of the last big fight scene in the villa by the lake. That isn't a spoiler. You saw it coming the second you read it. And without even caring about what happened. Sorry, Jim Butcher, you're doing fine. You don't need my positive reviews. Sorry to all of you out there who loved it. Not for me. I would instead recommend Benedict Jekyll, who I may well have to read again one of these days. Thank you for watching, if you're still watching. Sorry if I've just shot one of your holy cow books. But that's what I do. I'm the omnivorous reader. I read books omnivorously and then I review them here for your viewing pleasure. Thank you very much for watching and read good books.